Welcome to the Deep Dive. Ready for a trip back in time? We're going back to the 90s.
The 90s?
Oh.
Man.
The Wild West of the early internet.
Right?
We're going deep into a book called Hacker Crackdown.
Yeah.
This book gives you a front row seat to a year of showdowns. Yeah, between hackers and the feds, like the ultimate cyber showdown.
Okay, yeah. It's 1990.
1990s.
The internet, as you know it, barely even exists.
Yeah.
It's just finding its feet. But even back then, the government, they're cracking down hard on anyone messing around with computers.
Really?
This book, it's not just a history lesson, though.
Okay.
It's like a blueprint.
A blueprint.
Of how we got to where we are today.
Oh, wow.
With online security, privacy, the whole shebang.
It's weird to think that back then, cyberspace sounded like, I don't know, something out of Star Trek.
It did. It was like this weird, like, whoa.
This foreign,
yeah.
like Star Trek.
Right. And now it's just...
Exactly.
the internet.
Yeah, you check your email.
Yeah.
You browse.
It's just there.
Yeah, it's just there.
Right.
This book... It's like it captures this moment when people started seeing the internet as its own place.
Yes.
It wasn't just this thing you connected to. It was like a place where you went.
Yes. This is a good point.
And there were real consequences.
Absolutely.
Like even if it wasn't physical.
Exactly. And the book, it really digs into 1990, which was like the year the government decided to really crack down on hacking.
Okay.
And I mean, we're talking arrests, trials, the whole 9 yards.
Wow. So this was serious business.
This was not kids just messing around.
Right.
The book makes it really clear that what happened in 1990 really shaped how we think about cybercrime even today.
I see. It set the stage.
It really did.
It sounds like the stakes were like super high even back then.
Huge.
Because you mentioned earlier, you said like the feds were going after people. But the book mentions this massive crash of the AT&T phone network.
Oh, yeah.
In 1986.
Huge deal.
Can you imagine if that happened today? Like the entire network just goes down.
It would be chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? And the thing is, they never figured out exactly what caused it.
They never figured it out?
Nope.
So it's a mystery.
A total mystery.
Wow.
And you know, that just fueled all these theories and paranoia about how vulnerable these new computer systems really were.
So everyone was on edge.
Totally on edge.
After that.
Yeah, and it leads to one of the book's most interesting points.
Okay.
To understand the hacker crackdown of 1990.
Okay.
You got to understand the telephone system.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like before we had hackers, we have phone freaks.
Phone freaks.
Yeah, like these people obsessed with how the phone system worked.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hacker Crackdown actually draws this really cool parallel.
I see.
Between those early phone freaks and the computer hackers of the 90s.
Okay.
It all comes down to humans.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out systems.
Yeah.
Often in ways their creators never imagined.
It's like this innate human curiosity.
Totally.
Pushing the boundaries, right?
Right.
You see what you can get away with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like whether it's a phone network
Yeah.
or computer system.
Right, or anything, really.
Exactly.
It's human nature. The book starts way back with Alexander Graham Bell himself.
Oh, wow.
Did you know he presented the telephone as a stage show act?
Get out of here.
I'm serious.
No way.
Like a magic trick.
That's wild.
It just shows you how revolutionary this technology was.
It was mind-blowing back then.
And even back then, you had people messing with the techs. Like, there are all these stories about teenage boys in the early 1900s messing with switchboards, connecting calls to strangers.
Like prank calls?
Prank calls, yeah. Wow. They were like the proto-hackers.
The original hackers.
Exactly.
So that mischievous streak, that desire to like, poke around and see what makes things tick, that's always been there.
Always, always there. And as the tech got more complex, so did the ways people messed with it.
Right.
The book uses this.
Yeah.
It's kind of a funny analogy.
Okay.
To explain electronic switching stations.
Okay.
Those massive computers that replace the old cord boards.
Right.
Imagine a room full of monkeys.
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 Okay, I'm intrigued.
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
Each monkey has a tiny piece of code.
Okay.
They're passing these codes around constantly, combining them in different ways, millions of times per second. That's basically what's happening inside these phone systems.
Okay.
Connecting calls, making everything work.
So it's like this organized chaos.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. The monkeys.
The monkeys.
Yeah.
It's a good visual, right?
It is. It is. But back to 1990.
Yeah.
And this crackdown.
Okay.
The book, it throws all these names at you, right?
It does.
Hackers and feds alike.
It's like a who's who.
It is, yeah.
Of the early cyber world.
And it's not always clear who's on what side.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a simple good guys versus bad guys thing.
Okay.
You've got hackers like Shadowhawk.
Shadowhawk, okay.
This teenager from Chicago bragging online about wanting to shut down AT&T's entire network.
He wanted to take down the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Wow.
Just to prove he could.
Okay.
Then there's Fry Guy.
Fry Guy, okay.
Who basically rats out the Legion of Doom.
The Legion of Doom. That sounds serious.
Oh, they were like the infamous hacker group of a time.
So there's drama.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Tons of drama.
Okay.
And there are others, too.
Yeah.
Like Leftist.
Leftist, okay.
Who gets his house raided by the Secret Service.
Secret Service, wow.
Yeah, they were pretty serious about this stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have Ervile. Who was so deep into fantasy gaming, he could barely tell it apart from reality.
Wow, so he was living in the game?
Living in the game, yeah.
That's wild. It makes you think about the lines between the digital and physical world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even back then, it was getting blurry.
Yeah, it makes you think. All right.
It does, right.
Okay, so we've got Shadowhawk, Fry Guy, Leftist, Ervile.
Yeah, and then on the other side, you've got people like Gail Thackeray.
Okay.
A real pioneer in computer crime investigation. Yeah. Her story. Yeah. It shows how tough it was for law enforcement to keep up with this whole new world.
To keep up with this new world of computer crime.
Exactly.
So you've got everyone scrambling.
Totally.
Trying to figure out the rules.
Making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and then in the middle of all of this, you have the birth of the Electronic Frontier Foundation.
The EFF.
The EFF. I bet they're about to shake things up.
Oh, yeah, big time. The EFF, they were a direct response to this whole hacker crackdown. And the people who founded it, let's just say they weren't your typical lawyers.
Okay.
You've got John Perry Barlow.
John Perry Barlow, right?
Who went from writing lyrics for the Grateful Dead.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
The Grateful Dead.
The Grateful Dead.
That's quite the career change.
Right.
Okay.
Talk about a change of pace.
I mean, wow.
From rock and roll to digital rights.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Okay, and then there's
Mitch Kapoor.
Mitch Kapoor. Okay.
The brains behind Lotus Software.
Lotus Software. Okay.
These guys, they saw the crackdown as a huge threat.
A threat.
A huge threat.
To what?
To online freedom.
Okay.
And they set out to challenge the government every step of the way.
Wow. Okay. So the battle lines are being drawn.
Oh.
It's not just hackers versus the feds anymore.
It's way bigger than that.
It's about like two very different ideas of what the internet should be.
Exactly. You got it.
Wow. Okay.
It's about freedom versus control.
Freedom versus control?
Who gets to decide
what
we can and can't do online?
And this is all happening back in 1990.
1990.
Wow.
The dawn of the internet.
This is amazing.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, this is great stuff.
And you know what? It gets even wilder from here.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
We're just scratching the surface.
It's just getting started.
I am ready. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the deep dive. Okay, so we've got this picture of, like, chaos and confusion, people arresting trees.
It was a wild time.
Yeah, but like, what were these early hackers actually doing?
Right.
Yeah, the book.
Yeah, paints this, like, really vivid picture
it does,
for world.
It's fascinating because their motives were all over the map.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Some were driven by, like, pure curiosity.
They saw these complex systems as puzzles to be solved.
Like digital explorers.
Exactly.
Charting unknown territory.
So they want to see how far they could push things, you know?
I see.
But then you had others who were more, rebellious.
Okay.
They saw themselves as fighting back against authority.
Oh, wow.
Against big corporations, against the government.
So, like, sticking it to the man.
Exactly. They wanted the internet to be this place of true freedom.
Freedom, okay.
Yeah, where information was free for everyone, no restrictions.
So it wasn't always about, like, stealing information or causing damage.
Right. For many of them, it was about something more idealistic.
Yeah.
They had this, like, strong ethical code.
A code, okay.
Yeah, they believed in sharing knowledge, in free access to information.
Interesting.
They saw themselves as like the guardians of cyberspace.
There he is.
Protecting it from corporate greed and government overreach.
Okay.
It's kind of noble when you think about it.
Yeah, it's like a digital Robin Hood kind of thing.
Exactly. But of course, not all hackers were so noble.
Right. The book does mention like some shady stuff going on.
Oh, absolutely. There was a dark side, no question.
Like what?
Credit card theft.
Okay.
Talk of crashing entire systems, you know, just to cause chaos.
So you've got this whole spectrum of like...
the full range of human behavior.
Yeah, of human behavior.
Being out in this new digital world.
Okay, so then how did law enforcement even try to, like, separate the good guys from the bad guys?
Right. It was a nightmare.
It sounds like a nightmare, yeah.
Trying to police this stuff because the laws were playing catch up with the technology.
Yeah, the law is always a step behind.
Always.
Yeah.
The book mentions something called Section 129 of the U.S. Code.
Section 129, okay.
It was originally designed to combat credit card fraud.
Okay.
But they started using it to prosecute hackers even if it wasn't a perfect fit.
Oh, so they were trying to, like...
shoehorning it in.
Yeah, fit a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly. And of course, it caused a lot of controversy.
I bet.
Oh, yeah, civil liberties groups.
Okay.
Even some computer security people.
Yeah.
They argued that these laws were way too broad.
Okay.
That they were stifling innovation and punishing harmless curiosity.
So before they could even catch the bad guys, they had to figure out what made someone a bad guy in the first place.
It was a mess, and that's something that we're still grappling with today.
It's true.
What's the line between ethical hacking and cybercrime?
Yeah, a blurry line.
Very blurry.
Especially in today's world.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're back and ready to dive back in. Last time, we were talking about how this whole hacker crackdown played out in the media. It was like this, you know...
a total PR battle.
Right. And the book, it doesn't just focus on the, you know, the big names and the headlines.
Right.
It also, like, zooms in on how this whole thing impacted regular people.
Oh, yeah.
And some of those stories, they're pretty wild.
They are wild. One case that really jumps out is the story of Steve Jackson Games.
Steve Jackson Games, okay. It rings a bell, but I can't quite...
Yeah, they publish role-playing games.
Role-playing games.
GURPS Cyberpunk.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And they got caught right in the crosshairs of the Secret Service.
The Secret Service went after a role-playing game company.
Oh, yeah?
What did that have to do with hacking?
Yeah.
I mean, were they, like, hiding secret code in the dungeon maps or something?
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But no, the Secret Service, they were convinced that Steve Jackson Games was involved in some kind of plot.
A plot?
Yeah, to, like, disrupt critical infrastructure.
Wow.
They raided their offices.
He raided their offices?
Yeah, took their computers, their files, everything.
Wow. So they just, like, shut them down?
They shut them down. They even took down their email system.
No way. Did they find anything?
Not a thing.
Really?
The book makes it clear that the whole thing was a huge misunderstanding.
Oh, my gosh.
The feds, basically, got the fantasy world of role-playing games mixed up with the real world of computer hacking.
Wow. So it's like a total overreaction.
Total overreaction. It's a prime example of how fear and paranoia were driving a lot of the government's actions during this time.
So they were seeing hackers everywhere.
Everywhere. They were seeing threats.
Wow.
Around every corner.
Okay, so talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
I mean, what did Steve Jackson Games even do?
Well, they didn't just roll over.
Okay.
They actually took the Secret Service to court.
They sued the Secret Service.
They sued the Secret Service, arguing that the raid had violated their constitutional rights.
Wow. Okay, and guess what?
What?
They won.
No way. Oh, they won.
They won.
That's incredible. David versus Goliath, like digital edition.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so...
what did that mean? Like, what were the implications of that?
Huge implications.
Really?
It set a precedent that the government couldn't just, you know, storm into people's lives and seize their stuff without a good reason.
So this was a big deal for digital rights.
Huge.
Okay.
Privacy, due process.
So not just a win for Steve Jackson Games, but like a win for everybody.
For everybody.
Who cares about freedom and privacy online?
Absolutely. But even with victories like that, the question of how to define cybercrime, it was still this huge gray area. The book talks about how people were arguing about what should even be considered a crime in this new digital world.
Yeah, because it's tricky.
It is tricky.
The law is always playing catch up.
Always.
Yeah.
Some people were saying that any unauthorized access to a computer system, even if you didn't do any harm, should be a crime.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So, like, if you just
poking around?
Yeah, poking around, you could go to jail.
That was the argument.
Wow.
Of course, other people were like, no. Hold on a second. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They thought intent should matter.
Okay.
Right. Like, if you're just curious.
Yeah, if you're not trying to steal anything or mess anything up.
Yeah.
Then, like, come on.
It shouldn't be a crime.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Right. They compared it to trespassing.
Okay.
Just because you walk onto someone's property doesn't mean you're going to vandalize their house.
Right. Right. Well, exactly. It's like, okay.
Right.
I see both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So who won that argument?
Yeah.
It wasn't as simple as one side winning.
Okay.
It was really this ongoing debate.
Right.
The book shows how this played out in courtrooms, in Congress, in the media.
So it was everywhere.
It was everywhere. It was this tug of war between those who wanted to make cyberspace super secure, even if it meant restricting freedom.
Right.
And those who wanted to keep the internet open and free for exploration.
Right.
Even if it meant accepting a little more risk.
Yeah, so it's that balance.
That balance.
That we're still trying to strike today.
I'm still trying to find it.
How do you make the internet safe?
Right.
But also keep it a place where, you know.
Innovation.
Yeah, where things can happen.
Creativity. Yeah. Where people can experiment and explore.
That's tough.
It's really tough.
Yeah, because you can't just like, you know, lock everything down and expect, you know, the good stuff to still flourish.
That's what they were afraid of, though.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, what are some of the other key takeaways?
I think the biggest one is that cyberspace isn't like this separate realm where the rules of the real world don't apply. It's part of our world.
Okay.
And it reflects all the complexities and contradictions of human nature.
Yeah, you see that.
We see that in the hackers, the cocks, the activists.
Right.
It's all there.
It's like a microcosm.
Exactly.
Of like the real world.
Of the real world, but online.
Yeah, exactly. It's fascinating.
It is. And those fights, those debates, those struggles.
The stuff that was happening back then.
Back then.
It's still shaping the internet that we use today.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's amazing how relevant it still is.
It really is. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've come to the end of our deep dive.
I know. I'm sad to see it go.
Yeah, me too. Hacker Crackdown.
It's such a good book.
It really throws open the doors on like
pivotal moments.
This like crazy moment in internet history.
Right, when everything was still up in the air.
And it makes you realize that so many of the issues that we're facing today have their roots in in
those early days.
In those early days of the internet.
And the rules were being written.
Yeah.
And broken.
Yeah. It's like we're still kind of dealing with the fallout of like all that happened back then.
It's a good reminder that technology doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Right. It's all about the people.
It's about the people, yeah.
Who create it, who use it, who fight over it.
Who are shaped by it.
Exactly.
It's a human story, really.
It is. It is. This has been an incredible deep dive.
I've loved it.
I've loved it too. Thank you so much for taking us back in time.
Of course. Anytime.
To this really pivotal moment.
It's important to remember where we came from, right?
It really is. And for our listeners, if you're at all interested in this intersection of, technology history.
In the future, really.
In the future.
Yeah. The future of the internet.
You need to check out Hacker Crackdown.
It's a wild ride.
It's a wild ride. Trust me, it's a page turner.
Yeah, you won't be able to put it down.
All right. So until next time.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Dive deep.